Yes, sorry, all of you. There is some problem with my connectivity. Can you hear now, all of you? Can you see my screen now?
Yes, screen is visible and you're loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for waiting. Right. So we are talking about Raspberry Pi. This is a Raspberry Pi board. So this board is being used for many applications. Okay, so for edge computing, for gateway design, for industrial automation, and there are many other applications like IoT applications. Even you can run machine learning in these boards. You can run AI, you can run computer vision. You can do a lot of things in this particular Raspberry Pi board. So if you see the popularity of Raspberry Pi, as of May 2021, more than 40 million boards have been sold. Okay, this is the popularity of this particular board. Many students, researchers, even the engineers try using these boards for their prototyping as well as for their research. Okay, so this is the processor they are using. This is a Broadcom BCF2837 SoC system on chip. This is purely based on ARM Cortex processor. Okay, this is a powerful processor being used in Raspberry Pi. That's why we can build our own computers by using Raspberry Pi. Okay, so and if you see here, so this is the ARM Cortex processor A53 being used in our Raspberry Pi. It is a 64-bit processor and it has a clock speed of 1.2 gigahertz, and it has a catchy 0.5 MB, and it has a video core processor, so it can do video processing as well, and it has a 1 GB RAM. We can use for Raspberry Pi 3B. Raspberry Pi 4 is coming with more GB of RAM. Okay, we can use them. So the main thing is like here we have total 40 pins on this particular board. There are total 40 pins we can use. So in 40 pins, we have 27 GPIOs, general purpose input output pins. We can interface with the physical world through these 27 GPIOs. And we have UART communication, I2C, SPI, all these 40 pins, we have UART, I2C, SPI, and there are power pins as well. 3.3 volts, 5 volts on ground. Basically, this particular Raspberry Pi works with 3.3 volts logic, whereas Arduino, it works with 5 volts. ESP32, Node MCU, ESP8266 works with 3.3 volts. Whereas this particular board works with 3.3 volts, all of you. And remember, there are no ADC, onboard ADC. So if you want to work with analog sensors, then you have to add additionally ADC converter. Maybe you can buy, there are many ADC converters available in the market. One such ADC converter, MCP3008, which is purely based on successive approximation ADC converter. You can buy that and you can interface to work with analog sensors. So directly you can work with digital sensors and you can control various actuators by using this particular 27 GPIO pins. It is possible. Suppose if you want to work with analog sensors, then you need to use some ADC converter here. Okay, all of you. So these are the pins total. There are total 40 pins here. So we'll talk about how we can interface sensors with it. Okay, right. So and there are total 4 USB ports here. So here you will see 2 USB, 2 USB. Okay, there are total 4 USB ports, and this is the actually Ethernet connector. Okay, so this is for giving power to your Raspberry Pi. Okay, so this is to give power to Raspberry Pi. This is for HDMI connection, all of you, to connect to your computer or other monitors. Okay, mainly to the monitors, only to the output devices we can connect this particular HDMI. Okay, right. So we'll discuss more details here. Okay, this is a SD card connector. Mainly our OS runs in only SD card. Okay, so you have to provide here the SD card, maybe 64 GB or 32 GB or 16 GB SD card is required to run OS. Okay, everything will be stored in this particular SD card only. Okay, this SD card is main memory for our Raspberry Pi. Okay, so there are 3 connecting technologies available on Raspberry Pi. What are the 3 connecting technologies? One is Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Ethernet. So we can build our IoT products by using Wi-Fi. We can build IoT products by using Ethernet. We can build IoT products by using Bluetooth as well. So we can explore all these three communication technologies present on Raspberry Pi. This is the advantage when you use Raspberry Pi, because there are total 3 connecting technologies. Okay, all of you. So now this is the IEEE 802.11b by G wireless LAN. So it supports up to 100 meter support, and we have Bluetooth, that is Bluetooth 4.2. It supports the range up to 50 meters, and we have Ethernet. Okay, so directly you can connect your Raspberry Pi to local network. It is possible. This is a wired network, whereas those Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are wireless networks. Okay, so these are generally for short range, data communication. Right. So you can build your own computer if you want to build. So if you want to build really a computer, you can. Okay, if you are a researcher or a student, my suggestion is, good to have a Raspberry Pi computer in your home. Okay, so why? Because you can write a different programming language in this, because it supports OS. You can do all types of processing as well in this particular computer. Okay, you can do word processing, PowerPoints you can prepare. Okay, you can do computation. You can run Python, Java, C, C++, Node-RED, JavaScript. There are many things being supported in this particular Raspberry Pi OS. So it is good to have a one Raspberry Pi computer in every researcher. Okay, right. So these are things you require. Generally to connect from here to here, you need to have HDMI cable generally. Okay, and you have to have OS in your SD card. Okay, if you have SD card with OS, that is enough. You can do that. Okay, so I'll be showing you now some of the industrial products designed by using Raspberry Pi. If you see here, Sun Sniffer solar PV panel monitoring system designed by a company called Sun Sniffer. So they are monitoring continuously PV panel, how they are performing in real time. To understand that, they are doing condition monitoring of solar PV panels. So they continuously read the data from panel, and they try to understand the performance of the panel. Okay, if some PV panel is not performing well, so they can try to maybe remove, or they do some O&M on that. Okay, that's important. And why it's not performing. Okay, so to improve the efficiency of solar PV panels, this company designed their own monitoring system by using Raspberry Pi. Okay, so and if you see here, there is another product designed by Revolution Pi. Okay, so they designed it for industrial Internet of Things, or for automation. Okay, so they are using this for SCADA systems, PLC SCADA. Directly they can integrate with Modbus, they can integrate with RS-232. So if you want to really learn industrial IoT, okay, such a Raspberry Pi is very helpful, because it comes with all types of communication, device communication, and also our data communication. Both are available. So device to device is available. At the same time, you can use wireless communication like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and wired communication as well. Okay, so this is an industrial controller designed by a company. Same way, we can also design our own industrial controllers by using Raspberry Pi. And this is a gateway, IoT gateway designed by CompuLab. This is another product. Okay, this is for gateway. Okay, we know what is a gateway. So what is a gateway? A gateway simply collects data from all the IoT devices. Suppose you have total 5 devices. Okay, so you want to get all the data into this gateway, and this gateway may be pushing this data to the cloud. Okay, so gateways always acts as a translator, okay, which will actually communicate with the different types of devices. So it can communicate with Wi-Fi device, it communicates with Zigbee device, it can communicate with Ethernet device. Okay, so whereas Wi-Fi device will work with only Wi-Fi, right? So Wi-Fi will communicate with Wi-Fi. Zigbee communicates with Zigbee. LoRa communicates with LoRa. 4G communicates with 4G only. Okay, so remember this. So if you want to use all these communications, so if you go to any industry, they don't use just Wi-Fi, right? They may be using other wireless protocols based devices as well. So in such case, you need to collect data from all those devices. If you want to collect data from all those devices, you need to use gateways. So that's why almost all industries, if they are using IoT, they use gateway. They don't just use devices. They use devices with the gateway. Okay, all of you. So this is the one Raspberry Pi IoT gateway. Same way, this is an edge device. Okay, where everything will be processed inside of this device, and we have health monitoring system designed by using Pi. So this is actually designed by Proto Central. Okay, this is one company who make prototypes and products. Okay, so they made this to measure various parameters like temperature, respiration rate, and then SpO2, ECG, heart rate. Okay, all these data can be monitored directly from a patient, and they can store the data also, so they can have data recorded in this particular Raspberry Pi. Right, all of you. And here, if you see here, this is actually a pic of Sony. Okay, the Sony company using Raspberry Pi to monitor their equipment in the factory. Okay, so you can see here the Raspberry Pi. Can you look at Raspberry Pi, all of you? Just at this, my mouse pointer is showing you the Raspberry Pi. So this Raspberry Pi is being used by Sony for factory monitoring. Okay, all of you. Right. So now we are going to getting started with Raspberry Pi. Okay. So before starting Raspberry Pi, all of you must know installing OS with recommended software. So it is available with Raspberry Pi website. So if you go to Google and search for Raspberry Pi Foundation, okay, so Raspberry Pi, website contains everything. Okay, so just you have to download the software and you have to flash this into SD card. Okay, and you have to insert this SD card into your Raspberry Pi and give power to the Raspberry Pi. That's enough. Okay, your Raspberry Pi is ready. Okay, so I made ready my Raspberry Pi. Okay, so now I will be showing you how to interface our Raspberry Pi with physical world and how to monitor and control things. Okay, that is actually a practical thing now I'll be doing. Okay, right. So now we'll go to the practicals, all of you. So we'll have some hands-on session. So first, I'll log into my Raspberry Pi first. So I'll show you how to log in. Okay, already my Raspberry Pi is on. Okay, it's running. Okay, so how to log into my Raspberry Pi. So I'll be accessing my Raspberry Pi in a local network. So my computer and my Raspberry Pi is connected to my router. Okay, so now I can communicate with my Raspberry Pi through this network, local network. Okay, so when you want to work in a local environment, or if you are using internet to work with the Raspberry Pi, yes, it is possible. There is a tool called as VNC. Okay, so VNC. So VNC is virtual network computing, most of you know, right? So directly we can access machines by using this VNC. We can get access of a particular machine. So I'm going to use this tool and I'll try to access this particular, Raspberry Pi. I'll be showing you. So here what we have to do is we have to provide the IP address of Raspberry Pi. Okay, so otherwise, I can see here Raspberry Pi. You can do two things. One is you can access through local network, or otherwise I am already logged in. Okay, so I can use directly this particular system. Already it is in available over the internet, so I can use that also. So for now I'll be accessing locally. So I have to provide IP address of my Raspberry Pi. You should know the IP address of Raspberry Pi. So 192.168.0.10, this is local. Okay, so I'll be accessing only through a local network. Okay, you cannot access my Raspberry Pi unless I give authorization for you to access. Okay, right. So I'll be doing that. So I have to provide username and password for this. Provide username and password. So username is Pi, and I'll be providing my password here. Right, ready. This is my Raspberry Pi. So can you see, all of you say yes if you are able to see my Raspberry Pi desktop? This is my Raspberry Pi desktop. Can you see my Raspberry Pi desktop, all of you?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so now you can see here, when you click on this Raspberry Pi logo, you will see all available things like I have installed Arduino IDE in this. So I can program directly my Arduino from this Raspberry Pi. We have a Java IDE, Geany IDE, and there are many IDEs. Even you have a Node-RED. Okay, Node-RED is being used by many industries. Mu is a Python IDE. and Scratch is for students and beginners. Okay, so SenseHat emulator. So and Python IDE. These are all various IDEs and programming environments we can use to write programs in the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so what I do is I'll be using Linux terminal for doing everything, because this Raspberry Pi OS is based on Debian operating system. Okay, Debian, derived from Debian. Okay, so it is Linux based OS. So click on this Linux terminal. So you will see this is Linux terminal, LX terminal. Okay, so all of you can see this, right? So I'll be reducing the size so that we can see entire codes that I write here. Right, so now we are in Raspberry Pi Linux terminal. So we can actually control everything from here, all of you. It's like command prompt in Windows. Windows command prompt, right? It's very similar as like Windows command prompt. Okay, this is a Linux terminal. So some of you maybe already know about it. Okay, so now what we do is we are going to create a directory. Okay, so mkdir is the command to create a directory. So we are going to make a directory here for IoT RPI. This is my directory, IoT RPI. Create a directory. Okay, now we change our directory to IoT RPI. Okay, now we are in this directory. Okay, IoT RPI. You can see that directory folder here by using this particular file access system. You can see the folder. Okay, IoT RPI. 1 second. So this is the folder we just created here. This is the directory IoT RPI. Okay, so we are going to create all the programs here in this IoT RPI. Okay, all of you. So we'll start creating programs. Okay, so for writing programs. Okay, so how to write program? To write the program, so we are going to use an editor, all of you. So what is that editor? There are different editors available in Raspberry Pi OS. Okay, so Python, you can use Python directly, Thony Python IDE. Okay, Mu IDE. But the best thing is use Nano editor. So I'll be using Nano, GNU Nano. Okay, Nano editor is to create different files. Okay, like with extensions, Python extension, right? .py. Okay, if you want to create text file extension is different. So first I'll be creating here Python file. Okay, so already all the softwares are present in this. Python is present, Python 3 is present. So these are the recommended softwares with the Raspberry Pi. So Raspberry Pi comes with all the softwares, all of you, all the required softwares. Okay, so you can see even pinout of your Raspberry Pi here. So what is a pin diagram? So just type here pinout. When you type pinout, you will see all the pins here. So this is a pin diagram of our Raspberry Pi, and you will get more information about Raspberry Pi by using the command pinout. Okay, now you are seeing here all the pins. These are the 40 pins. Okay, this is a starting pin 1. Okay, and the opposite one is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, they are arranged here. All odd numbering present here at the bottom line, and top line is having even numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, so on. This is the physical numbering of this particular board, all of you. Okay, these are the total 40 pins you can see here, and this is actually version, SoC. What is SoC? RAM size, storage, micro SD, USB ports, Ethernet ports, Wi-Fi is available or not, Bluetooth, yes, camera port available, display port available, right? So this is about information you'll be getting, right? You will see here the pins. Okay, these pins are very important for us because we want to control various actuators. At the same time, we want to read data into the processor. Okay, for doing that, we'll be using these GPIOs, general purpose input output pins, or digital pins. Okay, so as we have a short time, so I don't explain everything, but I'll be showing you a few important things here. Okay, we'll be using all these GPIOs, all of you. These are all GPIOs. You can use all the GPIOs to control LED, to control buzzer, to control a relay, to control a motor. Okay, so these GPIOs are very helpful to kind of produce control signal. So generally, GPIOs or digital pins will give you either high or low signal. That is actually 3.3 volts or 0 volts. High is 3.3 volts, low is 0 volts. Okay, so we know that, and these GPIOs are capable to read digital signals, either 1 or 0 or 3.3 volts or 0 volts or low or high. Okay, so they can actually read at the same time. Processor can write signals through these GPIO pins. So GPIO pins are the way through which the processor interacts with the physical world, all of you. Okay, right. So now what we do is we'll try to interface a LED, and first we'll try to turn on LED and turn off LED by using Python program. Okay, so now we have to create a Python program. So how to create a Python program? So we'll be using Nano. So those who have any doubts during that, you can type and we can discuss later on. Okay, right. So we'll do that now here. So I'll be creating a file here. So to create a file, Nano, you have to provide Nano space file name. Give the file name, all of you. So the file name I'll be providing here, led.py. Okay, so led.py. So here .py is the Python file extension. Okay, you have to provide this extension, right? And now press enter. When you press enter, you will see here GNU Nano editor version 3.2. So here we have to write the program. We have to type our program, and it follows Python syntax. Okay, don't forget, you have to follow Python syntax because we are creating a Python file. Okay, so now to control LED. So we know LED, right? All of you know LED. So LED is a light emitting diode. To turn on this, you have to provide some positive voltage at anode. Okay, so you need to provide maybe voltage from 2.7 to 3. Okay, or maybe 1.5 to 2.7 volts you can provide to turn on LED. Generally, these ICs, or maybe you are using microcontrollers. Okay, they control through control logic. So logical voltage is 3.3 volts. Okay, generally you get 3.3 volts at the anode of LED, right, all of you? So what we do is, it's very simple. You can see the diagram here. Okay, this is actually LED. We know that LED converts electrical energy into light energy. It's like very similar to diode. Okay, you can see a diode symbol, but you see here a light being emitted, right? This is the positive side, and this is the negative side. This is the anode and cathode. Okay, you have to provide only the forward current. Okay, so if you give here, suppose if you provide 3.3 volts at positive, and at cathode if you give a ground, it will work. But if you do that reverse, okay, so it don't allow current in the reverse direction. We know that, right, all of you? Okay, so you have to remember this when you make connections with this. Okay, so we are going to control this. To control this, we need the components. What are the components required? We need Raspberry Pi, breadboard, LED, and resistor. Any resistor having 150 ohm to 220, okay, 250. Okay, no problem. And you have to provide wires. Jumper wires also required. Okay, all of you. So it's very simple. So we are going to make connection. The connection is simple. So we have to connect LED in series with a resistor. LED anode should be connected to GPIO pin, and this cathode should be connected to ground, all of you. Okay, now GPIOs or digital pins can produce either 3.3 volts or 0 volts. 3.3 volts or 0 volts. If you give 3.3 volts, LED will be on. If you give 0 volts, LED will be off. It's very simple. If you give 3.3 volts, LED will be on. If you give 0 volts, LED will be off. Okay, so we have to write a program to produce 3.3 volts and 0 volts to control this particular LED. Okay, so you have to produce high and low signals to control this particular LED, right? So I'll be writing the program now. So now how to control GPIOs? To control GPIOs, we have a library, okay, called as, so Python contains many libraries, we know. Can anyone name few libraries in Python? Just type. Maybe some of you know about Python, right? 1 or 2 people, maybe learning Python. So you know Python libraries or Python packages, okay? Yeah, anyone, can you please type some library in Python? Okay, right. You can type any answer. Okay, it's not mandatory that. Nice, Ankit. Okay, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib. So you are working with data science. Okay, you are working on data science. Jupyter Notebook, very good. Okay, Tony, nice. Okay, so all of you are working with different things like okay, TK Inter. You are designing GUI, Kotesh. Okay, right. So Kushi, you are using Tony. And Ankit, you are working with data analysis and you are using Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook is actually an environment for Python. Okay, and right, good. So in Raspberry Pi, we have a package to control GPS. There are many packages like wiring pi, rpi.gpio. So I'll be using rpi.gpio library, okay, to control GPIOs. Okay, so to use libraries, first thing is you have to import the library. In C program, you see hash include, right? So that is actually including libraries. In C or C++, you include the libraries, whereas in Python, you import the libraries. Okay, so you have to type here import. Type here, all of you, import rpi.gpio. So this is the name of the library, rpi.gpio. By default, it is installed in your Raspberry Pi along with the OS. Okay, so no need to install this. If you face any issue, then you have to install this. This rpi.gpio control, contains methods to control, to monitor, and also there are PWM, pulse width modulation is available, I2C is available, serial communication is available. Okay, SPI is available. So you can use this to control as well as to communicate with other devices. Okay, so now we have to import this. While importing, give some name. So I'll be importing this as GPIO. So we are giving rpi.gpio a name is GPIO, right? The next step is we are importing another package that is time. Time is a library. Okay, time module is to produce delay. Okay, because delay or waiting is very important in embedded systems in IoT. Many times we need to wait for some time, or we need to give some delay, okay, between some actions. So one action done, after that action we have to give some delay, and then okay, in such case we have to use time module. Okay, now the next step is we are going to use this library to control LED. Okay, so we are going to connect LED to pin number. So here you will see pin diagram. In this, you will see pin number 40. Pin number 40 is actually a digital pin. So we can use this 40 pin to control LED. Okay, so this GPIO name is 21. So there are two names generally. One is board number. Another one is BCM number. This is called as BCM number, all of you. This is called as board number. Here board number is 40. And the same pin number name is GPIO 21. Okay, so when writing program, we have to specify whether we are following these port numbers or GPIO numbers. Okay, you can follow either board number or BCM number, no problem. Okay, so we have to specify what type of numbering you are following. We are connecting LED to 40, pin number 40. Remember this. Okay, right. So we'll be writing here. We are going to set mode. So you can set either board or BCM. If you want to use board numbering, then you have to specify here, board. If you want to use BCM, that is GPIO numbering, then you have to specify here BCM. Okay, so I'll be typing here GPIO dot board, because I want to use board number, it is easy. Okay, all of you can easily remember. When you are working physically with the board, you can see only board numbers, you can easily understand. So my suggestion is better to use the board. But in generally, BCM is more useful, okay, if you know SoC, system on chip. Okay, so GPIO numbers are Broadcom numbers, BCM is Broadcom. Okay, that is actually main SoC numbers. Okay, but you can use either or. Okay, all of you. Right. So next step, all of you. Now we declared here the mode. What is the mode? A board mode. So we have to use pin number. What is the pin number here? Pin number 40. We have to use pin number 40 here now in this program. Okay. So these pins can work in two modes. What are the two modes, all of you? Anyone tell me? Each GPIO works in two modes, either one mode or other mode. Okay, what are the modes here? In Arduino, you know these modes, right? In Arduino also, or ESP8266 also, you have GPIOs, right? It is very similar GPIOs, like same. Okay, so there are two modes, right? What are the two modes? What are the two modes? Anyone can type. Some of you are learning Arduino in our training program. Okay, you can type answer. GPIO. Anyone can type answer. General purpose input output, right? GPIO means general purpose input output. Okay, so you can use a particular pin as input pin or output pin. Do understand this? You can use input pin or output pin. So input pin means to, for example, if you want to read data from the sensor into the processor, then you have to use input mode. Suppose you want to control LED. Okay, then the processor has to write the signal to control LED. Okay, in such case, the GPIO should act as output pin. Okay, so to control the GPIO pin mode should be output. Okay, to monitor or to read data into the processor, the mode should be always input, all of you. So remember, if you are working with actuators, then the mode is output. If you are working with sensors, then the mode is input. So okay, what are the actuators? LED is an actuator, relay is actuator, buzzer is actuator, motor activator, relay activator. Okay, these are all actuators. If you are working with actuators, then the pin mode should be output. If you are working with sensors like motion sensor, moisture sensor, push button, then you have to use input. Okay, now we are using LED, right? What should be the mode, all of you? What should be the pin mode? This is an actuator. We are interfacing an actuator with the pin number 40. Then what should be the pin mode of 40? What should be the pin mode of 40? Yeah, anyone can tell what should be the pin mode of 40? Yeah, right. Okay, so we'll go ahead now. So this is short time, right? So maybe some of you can remember this. Okay, I already told you the output, right? The pin mode should be output, all of you. Okay, now the pin mode should be output. Now we have to set the pin mode. To set the pin mode, we have a function in this particular package. What is the function? GPIO dot setup. Now this function will take two inputs. First input is pin number. Okay, what is the pin number, all of you? 40. Pin number 40. What is the other parameter? You have to pass input or output. So we want to use this as output. So you have to write here GPIO dot out. Okay, so it's very simple. Now we are setting pin number 40 as output pin. Done. Once done, the next step, all of you. So now the pin number 40 is output. Okay, so once this is output, the next step is we have to produce voltage from this. If you produce 3.3 volts from this, means if you write 3.3 volt signal, then the LED will be on. Okay, if you produce 0 volts or low signal, then LED will be off. Okay, so now I'll be writing here This is only setup, all of you. All these 4 lines are initialization, setup, libraries. Okay. Now, the main code, always remember when you're working with the IoT or embedded systems, you have to write in the infinite loop. So I'll be creating infinite loop using while true. So while true, while true. Okay, now we want to produce 3.3 volts to turn on LED. Okay, so to produce 3.3 volts, we have to write signal. Okay, we have to produce signal, right? So there is a method in GPIO. In this library, we have a method called as output. Okay, this will send output, high signal or low signal. Okay, it requires 2 arguments. What are they? One is pin number, that is 40. And then you have to specify whether you want to produce high signal or low signal. So I want to produce high, GPIO dot high. Okay, now the pin number 40 will give you 3.3 volts output. Okay, so after this, I want to wait in this particular state for some time. Okay, maybe 1 second or 2 seconds, so that we can see that LED is on. Okay, so you have to provide here delay. So to provide delay, time dot sleep, provide here delay 2 seconds. Okay, this sleep function is present in the module time. Already we have imported this particular time module. Okay, so in this time module, we have a method sleep. We are going to use that particular sleep method to provide a 2 seconds delay. So this will be number. So if you provide 2, okay, that is actually 2 seconds. If you provide X, that is X seconds. Okay, remember it takes in seconds. It considers in seconds. Right, now we want to turn off the LED. To turn off the LED, simple, right? So LED is on when you give 3.3 volts. Okay, so now if you want to turn off the LED, then you have to provide 0 volts. Okay, so GPIO dot output 40 comma GPIO dot low. Okay, so this low will turn off the LED, all of it will turn off the LED, because actually you are getting 0 volts at this particular 40th pin. So very simple. Okay, so I'll be showing you here circuit. Okay, so we have this LED. This is LED. Okay, all of you. And this is actually we are connected this to 40, pin number 40, and through resistor we are connecting this to the ground. So this is the current limiting resistor. We have added some 300 or 220 ohm resistor here. Okay, this is actually light. This is a LED. Okay, this produces light. Now see, at 40 pin, when you produce 3.3 volts, then current flows through this LED. Then LED will be on. Okay, so if you give 0 volts, LED will be off. So what we are trying to do is, when you execute this command, at 40 pin you are getting 3.3 volts, then LED will be on. When you execute this particular line, then at 40 pin you are getting low signal, that is 0 volts, then LED will be off. Okay, this is what we are doing here. Okay, and we have to wait for some time in this state. Okay, so I'll be writing here time dot sleep 2 seconds. Okay, right. So now all of you, so we are going to see the circuit diagram. Okay, so I'll show you physically how I made connection. Okay, I'll show you through my cam. So I'll just turn on my cam, okay, for some time, so that you can see the circuit diagram. Okay, all of you. Right. So 1 second. So now you can see the circuit. Okay, all of you can see the circuit. Now this is the circuit. Okay, now is this visible? All of you are able to see how we made connections? Yeah, just anyone can just say reply. Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so we have connected. This is actually LED. Okay, like this is a LED. This end is actually cathode. This is a cathode terminal, and this is actually anode terminal. Okay, so at the cathode, from cathode we have connected to ground. Okay, this is a 39 pin. 39 is actually ground. Okay, and this is actually anode in series with resistor we have connected, and from this resistor end we have connected to pin number 40. So this is the last pin, all of you. This is a 40 pin. All of you can see this 40 pin. Okay, right. So this is how we made connections. Okay, connections are ready now. Now we will try to run this, execute this code. Okay, and see how it works. So before execution, we have to save this program. To save this, press Ctrl O and enter. And to close this, Ctrl X. To come out of this nano editor, use Ctrl X. Okay, now we are in the Linux terminal. So now the program is present in led.py. Okay, so now what we do is we are going to run Python program. So to run the Python program, you have to type Python. Okay, this is Python 2.7. When you use only Python, that is actually considered as Python 2.7. And if you want to run in Python 3, then you have to use Python 3. So Python space led.py. Okay, all of you. Now you can see that LED is blinking. Can you see that, all of you? LED will be on for 2 seconds and off for 2 seconds. Are you able to see that, all of you?
Yeah.
Right. So this is basically how you can control LED. Okay, by using Python program in Raspberry Pi. Okay, this is a basic interfacing. The next step, I'll show you how to interface RGB LED. Okay, so I'll be showing that, all of you. So before going to that, the first thing is we are going to start project, simple project, and we'll later on go to the next project. Okay, so I'll show you a simple project called as Smart Umbrella.
Sorry, one question.
Yeah, please.
So regarding this breadboard, I don't have much idea. I understand this connection diagram, but when it comes to connecting to that positive and negative ground as well as positive thing, right? How
yes.
From the output to the board, how it is linked?
See, actually here, assume that this is actually a power source. It's like a battery. Okay, this battery is programmable battery. Suppose, understand this. Okay, so when you give high, it will be giving you generally 3.3 volts. Okay, when you give low, it is giving you 0 volts. Okay, so 3.3 volts you are getting at this particular pin, and 0 volts you are getting at this pin. Okay, this is a 0 volts one. Okay, right. So what we have done is simple. You want to understand breadboard, right?
Yeah, so the connection which is coming from Raspberry Pi to the breadboard, and from the breadboard, how it is connected to the LED, because it is connected to different slots there, right? In the
yeah. Okay, understood. Okay, so see here, this LEDs has 2 terminals. Okay, we have inserted here in one terminal. This is actually horizontal line. Can you see this horizontal line? 1 2 3 4 5 6. So here we have inserted LED terminal. You can see that this is LED terminal, and this is actually jumper wire terminal we have inserted here. Okay, this is how we have inserted. You can see that. Okay, so this is actually male connector, so we have inserted here. Okay, this is a ground. So now all the points from here, all are grounds now. This is grounds. Okay, these first one, all these horizontal holes are now grounds. Okay, so now we have connected this to ground. You can insert in any hole. Here also the same thing. Okay, it works same way. Here also you can insert, because horizontally all the holes are connected in a single line. Okay, whereas vertical connection, here all these verticals, you can see here verticals, right? How many verticals are there? In each vertical there are total, you can see these are vertical 1, vertical 2, vertical 3. In each vertical you will see there are total 5 holes, right? Can you see those 5 holes? 5 holes.
Correct.
5 holes are internally connected. Okay, because we want to connect this particular anode with this resistor, so we want to connect them in series. Means just we want to make a direct connection with them. So for that we have inserted here, because all these holes are internally connected. Okay, these 4 are internally connected. Do you understand this? All these 5, 1 2 3 4 5, all these 5 holes are internally connected. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the circuit, what we have done is simple. You can see here in my drawing. So this is a resistor. Okay. And we have LED. Okay. So in this circuit diagram, what we have done is we have connected here 240 pin using a jumper wire. This is a jumper wire. Okay. And this is a ground. This is a jumper wire. This is a jumper wire. So we used actually jumper wire color, from here it is black color, black jumper wire. This is a red jumper wire we have used. Okay. So you can see that in the video. Okay. So now these two we have to connect in series, this resistor and LED. Okay. To connect them in series, we have used a breadboard. Okay. So vertical holes are mainly useful to make series connections. This is called as actually component area. This area is called as component area. Okay. These two are connected in series, and you see another slot. This is another slot. This slot and this slot are not connected. These two are isolated. Okay. Now from this point, I have taken signal to this particular 40th pin. Okay. Remember, from 40 we have connected to resistor end, and resistor end is connected to anode, and this cathode is connected to ground. This entire, it's a continuous loop. Okay, there is circuit. Is that clear? Do you understand that?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, right. So we'll go ahead now. We'll see more details. Okay, so these are basic things. Okay, if we can keep more time, it is easy. Okay, because there is a simulation software called as Tinkercad to learn breadboarding and all. Directly we can simulate and we can learn. Okay, so I'll stop this here simulation. I'll stop this simulation, this particular program here. Okay, so to stop, you can press Control C. Okay, to stop this program. Okay, now the next step is we are going to design a project. Okay, so we are going to design a project. This project is actually smart umbrella project. So all of you can see this smart umbrella. Okay, so we want to design a smart umbrella which is sensitive to weather. Okay, so based on temperature, this umbrella color should change. So how to design such a device? Is that possible? Anyone? Can we do that? Yes, yeah. We can do that. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that now. We will do that now. Okay, so this is a simple architecture. All of you please see here. Right, so we are going to use open weather here. There is a here open weather. This is weather API cloud. Simply we can say weather cloud. Okay, so this particular weather cloud collects data from more than 2 lakh cities, okay, over the world. Okay, all over the world. So from 2 lakh cities, even suppose some of you are staying in Delhi or maybe Hyderabad, Bangalore. Okay, so all our cities are covered, okay, by this open weather. Okay, they have installed weather stations, or they may be using some other weather station. Suppose you have weather station, they might use your weather station also if you are your weather station is qualified. Okay, so they collect data and they store their data in their cloud, and they provide this data to third-party clients like you, me, or enterprise, or some insurance company. There are many companies using this particular weather data. Weather data contains real-time weather, forecasted weather data also available with this open weather map. Or there are other alternatives also there, AccuWeather, Google Weather. Okay, there are many companies maintaining this weather data. Okay, so they connected with the weather data providers. So this data is available with this open weather. Now this open weather provides this data to clients. Okay, so how they are providing this data to the clients? Through APIs. Remember, so enterprises provides data to users or clients by using APIs. What is an API? API is application programming interface. Okay, so application programming interfaces are simple HTTP endpoints in web or in IoT. simple HTTP endpoints to access the data, to access the resource. Okay, so if you are working with the backend development, you might know REST APIs, representational state transfer APIs. Okay, this REST is actually architecture. Okay, simple architecture or framework. Okay, generally we use to implement HTTP based APIs. Okay, so here they use data protocol HTTP. Okay, we can access data from this particular open weather map by using HTTP protocol. Okay, there are different protocols are available for accessing data. Mainly for IoT, we have HTTP, MQTT, and we have QoAP also. QoAP. Okay, so HTTP, most of you know, right? So every day, you are using HTTP, right? So how many of you are using HTTP? If I say every one of us are using HTTP, right? Yes or no, all of you? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Right. So for example, if you are browsing Google, you are using HTTP only, right? http://google.com or https:// some other website. Okay. So every day you are making hundreds of requests to the server for the data. Okay. You are getting data from various servers into your Chrome browser or maybe Firefox browser through HTTP requests only. Okay, so the browser is the best HTTP client application to get data. Okay, and it renders data also. Okay, so most of you are using browsers, right? Those browsers are HTTP clients. Okay, remember, HTTP clients, all browsers are HTTP clients. Okay, they communicate with servers and get response, and they render the response in the browser, so that you can see beautiful websites, very beautiful user interfaces are available today, downloaded into your browser, and you can see them. Okay, you can interact with them as well. Okay, because that is actually powered with HTTP only, hypertext transfer protocol only. Okay, the same protocol people are using in Internet of Things also. Okay, so I'll be showing you how people are using this particular HTTP protocol to access data, Okay, now our goal is, so we want to access data. So it provides temperature, humidity, wind speed, rain, and many other parameters. Okay, so for our case, for simplicity, so we want to design here a smart umbrella whose colors changes based on temperature. So based on temperature, the color of this umbrella should change. Okay, so automatically, so when you see that color, you should understand the temperature outside the environment. Okay, suppose you are leaving from your apartment or your house, so automatically you need to know whether to take your umbrella or not. Okay, by seeing the color of the umbrella. Okay, so this is a simple project. It's not more practical, but in real time, when you think about smart umbrellas in real time, this is one simple use case I'm explaining here. Okay, all of you. So the thing is, we have to get temperature near to this near to this umbrella. For this, we are going to use some device. So that is actually Raspberry Pi to get this data into this Raspberry Pi. So how to do that? How to get this data available in the cloud into Raspberry Pi? Okay, so assume that like HTTP client. So there are HTTP clients like browsers. What they do is they make requests and they get the response. Okay, so they work in HTTP server is there. Generally, this is assume that this is HTTP server. Just assume, and you have HTTP client. Okay, now data is present in this server. Okay, you have weather data. Now you want to get this weather data. To get this weather data, you have to make a request. You have to make a request for the data. Okay, so when you make a request to this server, the server sends back response if data is available. Okay, so if it is perfect resource you are accessing is available, then automatically you get the response. Okay, so the browsers are doing the same. So for making requests, how to make request? Yes, there are libraries in C, there are libraries in Python, there are libraries in JavaScript. Okay, Node, you can work in Node environment as well. Okay, so you can directly make requests in many other environments, like in web, or you can do in web generally we use scripting, okay, or you can use a C or C++, or you can use Python. Okay, so here I'll be showing you Python, how to make requests in Python. Okay, right. So through Python, we can make requests and we can get data into Raspberry Pi. Okay, before that, the first thing is your Raspberry Pi must be connected to the internet, because cloud is in internet, right? Cloud is connected to internet. So your Raspberry Pi also should be connected to internet to access this resource available in the internet. Okay, so once your Raspberry Pi is connected to the internet, next by using HTTP protocol, we are going to access this particular data. Okay, this is what we are going to do. Once you get the data, now you are getting some response temperature values here. Based on temperature values, we have to control the color of the RGB. So RGB LED can produce red color, green color, blue color, pink color. Okay, so you can produce many number of colors from this RGB LED. Okay, right? Is that clear, all of you? So first we'll start with OpenWeather. Okay, and then we'll try to get the data into the Raspberry Pi. After getting data, we'll try to control RGB LED colors. Okay, we'll do this entire practical now. Okay, now we'll go to OpenWeather map. All of you go to Google now. So go to Google. Okay, if you want to do parallel with me, you can go to Google. So this is my OpenWeather map. So for time being, already I created an account. Okay, if you don't have one, so you have to create an account. Okay, so it's very simple to create an account. Okay, this is my profile. So just I'll log out. Okay, so when you log out, you will see this. Okay, so open weather map, search for OpenWeather map. So you will see here OpenWeather map, current weather and forecast. Click on this. Okay, now you will see this. Okay, so this is OpenWeather map. And if you don't have an account, you will get this page. You will get this page. Okay, so this is a sign in where you have to see this sign into your account. And if you don't have an account, okay, you have to create an account. So to create an account, click here to create an account. Click here to create an account and fill all the necessary details and submit. Then you will get your account ready. But it will take some time for making ready your APIs. Okay, so APIs are not active once you create account. It will take a couple of minutes for activation of APIs. Okay, so for time being, you can use my API, or you can work later also. Right. So I'll log in using my account. So submit. Now this is my OpenWeather map page. So you can search for any city without login. Also, you can search for any city. Okay. So for example, I'll be searching for Chennai. Suppose Chennai. Okay. So you can see Chennai IN. Okay. Details. You can see all the details about Chennai. Temperature now 27 degrees centigrade. Feels like 27. Few clouds are there. Light air. Okay, humidity 80%, visibility 6.0, dew point 23 degrees centigrade. So this is hourly forecast, this 8-day forecast. Now this is the data we are getting for Chennai. So now, can it be possible for us to access this data into our Raspberry Pi? Yes, possible. Because this particular OpenWeather map is providing APIs. You can see here the API. Okay, so every enterprise generally provides APIs. Okay, so for example, Facebook provides API to access their data, like Facebook posts, all the data you can access. Same way, Twitter provides APIs. Even Twilio provides APIs. Okay, so WhatsApp has API. So every company has its own APIs, either to read data or to post the data. We can use application programming interfaces. Okay, and those companies maintains documentation also on how to use those APIs. Okay, so for everything, like for Twitter, you can get documentation. Okay, for this OpenWeather map, we have documentation. You can click here API, then you will get documentation. Okay, so this is how you can get data. Okay, so to use our fast and easy to work weather APIs for free, you can sign up and you can do that if you have an account. Okay, so these are all APIs. So for example, if you want to get current weather data, you have to read these API documents. If you want to get hourly forecast for 4 days, you can use API doc. So one call API, you can use this daily forecast or climatic forecast. See, this is not free for subscribers. Not all are free. Okay, some features are freely available. Some features you have to pay for that. Okay, it is not free, for everything. Okay, there is limitation for free account. Okay, so you can see that. Okay, for us, it is free is enough. Okay, so you can access current weather. So it is free for us. So we can do that, no problem. Okay, so and this is how many calls you can make in this. 1 minute you can make 60 calls, no problem. Okay, and this is how many calls you can make for a month. Okay, this is enough for our testing. Suppose if you want to start a startup and you want to use this data, yes, you can use this particular one if you're a startup company. Okay, so right, so people are maintaining, right? They are maintaining, so we have to pay for them, right? But for now we are going to use free. Okay, because we are exploring, right, all of you. So this API. Okay, so click on API again and go to this current weather data API. So this is to access current weather data for any location, including about 2 lakh cities. And this data format is in JSON, XML, and HTML formats. Okay, so we are going to work with JSON today. So API doc, click on API doc. You will see here, access current weather data for any location. Okay, so this is the API. So they provided this API. Okay, every API will have a structure. Okay, what is the structure? So if you see here, there is a structure for this API. What is the structure? You will see api.openweathermap.org. This is called as actually host name. Or this is the main server address. Okay, and after that you will see slash, right? All of you can see the slash. So up to this weather, this is the location. And once you reach this location, now we want to access the data for a particular city. Okay, after question mark, so till question mark you have resource address. After question mark, so this question mark indicates query parameters. After this you will get query parameters. So there are 2 query parameters. Q is equal to 1 query, and there is a generally queries are combined with this particular AND symbol. Okay, so you have to combine with AND symbol. So we have Q is equal to 1 query and app ID another query. Okay, so this is app ID is to authenticate. Okay, this is for authentication. Because everyone can make a request, right? But this cloud, hackers can try to make requests, as many requests as they can. Okay, without sign up they can try to make this server busy. If this server is busy, we can't get data, right? So for that, security is important. So for securing this, one of the important thing is authentication or tokens. They generally give security token. So this API key is a security token, and when you create an account you will get this token. Okay, where are these tokens for us? So I have a token. Okay, you can see that token now. I'll show the token, no problem. You can see here in your account, my services are there, my API keys are there. Click on this my API keys. You will see the API key here. This is my API key. Okay, so this is UniQ key generated for my account. So I'll be using this for my account. This is UniQ. Okay, token. Okay, all of you. Right, is that clear? This is the UniQ token I'll be using for accessing data from this particular cloud. Okay, is that clear? Right. So go to APIs now. So we have to use that particular API key here. Whereas city, you can provide any city name like Chennai or other name you can provide. Okay, all of you. Right, clear? So copy this to access the data. So when you use this is the HTTP endpoint. We can say this is the API call. People say this API call. Some people call it as API request. Some people call it as HTTP endpoint. Okay, right. So we are going to make request using this particular URL. Okay, this is the URL. Okay, we have to request. When you request this URL, the server gives you response, current weather data response. Okay, so this is the URL on which you have to make a request. Okay, I need this. Okay, so then server will see and give you the data for that particular city. Okay, so copy this, all of you. So you have to copy this. So just copy this, or you can click here to copy. And now after copying, the next step, go to the new tab, paste here. Okay, so now I'm going to use this browser. Already told you, these are my Mozilla Firefox browser. So I'll be using this Firefox browser to make request. Okay, so I'm going to make HTTP request now through the browser, because a browser is a HTTP client. So I can make a request to the server. Okay, all of you. So now here we have to make two changes. One is city name, another one is app ID. Here you have to provide an API key. Okay, right. So copy this API key here. Go to API key, my API key. So I'll be using my API key. Your API key, it will take some time. Okay, for getting enabled, it will take some time, right? And then, sorry, here city. Here I'll be pasting here, right? So now city name, I can give any city. Okay, so Chennai. Okay, so now press enter. When I press enter, I got the data, right? You can see this data, right? So this is the JSON response. Coordinates, longitude, latitude, Chennai longitude, latitude, location, weather. Okay, ID 801. Main clouds are there. Description, few clouds are there in Chennai now. And main temperature is 299 Kelvin. This is in Kelvin. Feels like 299.8 Kelvin. Temperature minimum 299.8 Kelvin. Temperature maximum 301.14 Kelvin. So where to understand this data? Okay, so the same thing available in documents. Okay, so you can go to API documents and you can understand more about this response. Okay, so what type of response you will get? What are the parameters? So you will read more about this data. What is queue, what is app ID, everything. Okay, so and you can see examples of call also. And finally, you will see the response also. Okay, weather fields in API response. What are the, you'll be getting response. What is the response? You'll be getting coordinates, longitude. You'll get this weather description and main weather data, visibility, wind speed, wind direction, clouds, all the data you'll be getting. And country, sunrise time, sunset time, time zone, everything. Okay, so you can see that geolocation, longitude, geolocation, latitude, weather condition ID, group of weather parameters, weather condition within the group, weather icon ID. Okay, so on, temperature, so on. So you default, you'll be getting Kelvin. So metrics, Celsius, you can convert it, no problem. Okay, humidity, pressure, all these details, you can read this, all of you, in your free time. Okay, just read, and you can do this in your Jupyter notebook also, in your computer. It works. Okay, and you have to install some library for this. I'll tell you how to install it now. Okay, if you want to work in your computer, right? So you can see here temperature, pressure, humidity, wind speed, clouds, everything. Okay, this is JSON, formatted data. And if you want to see the raw data, this is a raw data. This is a raw JSON format. And if you want to see pretty print, you can click here for seeing pretty print. Okay, so this is the raw data how you are getting. This is actually JSON, how you can visualize a beautiful, visualization. This is a feature of, browser. Okay, this is a feature of browser. Basically, you will get this raw data, and browser try to show it, this data beautifully. That's the main thing. Okay, this is how generally you will get the data, but browser interpret the data and try to show it as clearly. Okay, that is a browser features. Okay, every browser has its own features, all of you. So this is the response. Now we want to get temperature, right? Where is the temperature? This is a temperature. So we want to get this temperature. Okay, so how to get this temperature? Okay, so now to get the temperature in Raspberry Pi, we have to write a Python program to make this request. Okay, I'll be showing you now how to write Python program to get this data into Raspberry Pi. So go to Raspberry Pi, all of you. So these are Raspberry Pi. Now I'll be writing the program here. Create a new program, nanospace. So new program, so smartu smartu.py. This is smart umbrella program. So give Python extension, press enter. Now I'll be importing here requests. First I'll be importing requests. What is request? Okay, so you can read more about request in Google. Request is a HTTP library, HTTP package. To implement HTTP in Python, you can use this request. Okay, so this is very useful if you are learning Python based web development. Okay, there generally you use these requests. Okay, you can search and find much documentation. Okay, so this is request HTTP for humans. This is actually a Python library. So you can use this Python library for making requests. So directly you can see the data here. So you'll be getting request is elegant and simple HTTP library for Python. Okay, so you can read more about this documentation. You can find this book. In this book, you will get a lot of information. Okay, if you want to really become expert in this, okay, you can start doing this. Okay, you can really become an expert in web communication, backend development for IoT as well. Okay, right. So now we have to install this library. So already I have installed. So if you want to see installation, you have to you can install through pip also, right? You know pip. So pip install request is the easiest thing. Okay, all of you know about pip. If you're using Anaconda, yes, there are Anaconda. In Anaconda also you can make requests, but in Raspberry Pi, so we don't install Anaconda. So I have installed already requests by using pip. Okay, so you can use the command directly pip. So you can directly see this in pip pyp.org. You can find all repositories of Python modules. So you can search in this directly. You will know how to install, okay, any library. You can see here request 2.27.1. Okay, so you can see here. Okay, so this is how to install pip space install space request in command prompt. Type in the command prompt and just enter. It is done. Okay, so I'll be showing that. So just open another one. Paste here. So pip space install space request and press enter. So it will be installed in a couple of seconds. Already installed, right? So it says that already available. Already available. Okay, this is available already. Requirement already satisfied. Okay, for me. So already I have installed it. For you, you have to install this pip space install space request and you have to type enter. Right, all of you. So we are importing that particular request module. In this request module, there are different methods. Generally, HTTP has different methods like get, post, put. These are the major methods for sending and receiving data for updating data to the server or to retrieve data from server. You have to use mainly get is to retrieve data, post, put. Generally we update data in the server. Okay, so from client, if you want to send data to the server, generally we use post or put. So suppose if your client wants to get data from server, then generally we use get request. This is general. Okay, right. So this is about HTTP. You can read more about HTTP. If anyone wants to know more about these things, I'll share some documents or URLs. Okay, resources. You can go through them. Okay, all of you. Right. We'll go ahead now. So import request, and then here we are going to make a request, right? So while true. So we want to run this for infinite number of times. If you want to make more number of requests, you can use this. Otherwise, if you want to make it just one request, okay, just r equal to request.get. Okay, get is the method. Get is the method to retrieve data. Okay, so we want to get data, right? We made get request, all of it. When you type something and in the browser, okay, so whatever maybe the resources you are looking for, you generally type a URL and press enter. Okay, when you do that, you are getting a response, right? This request is called as HTTP request. Okay, so you can type what type of request, what is common request, HTTP request made by browser. So you can search and find more details. Okay. So what is a common request? Okay. What are the common requests? Generally GET request, all of you. So most of these, HTTP requests are generally GET request. Okay. Okay. So, but I don't get this here. What is it? Maybe I have to ask differently. Okay, so the two most common HTTP request methods you will see are GET and POST. When you think about retrieving information, think GET. Okay, which is the most used HTTP request. Okay, so because when you type something, okay, Google, you're getting this, google.com. Okay, so you got this data, right? We made GET request and we retrieve data. Okay, in the browsers retrieve data only. Okay, but if you want to submit some data to the server, like you are submitting application. Okay, that is actually POST request. Okay, so you post the data. That is actually POST request of you. So now in our application, we want to get data. Okay, so because we want to retrieve data from OpenWeatherMap server. Okay, and we have to pass one argument here, one argument, that is URL, and URL should be a string. Always remember, we have to pass as a string. Okay, so if you read the data, that particular documentation of request pack module, you will get to know how to use these particular methods. Okay, so I'll be saying GET requires one argument. You have to pass URL or a path, but that must be a string. Okay, so string you have to give in double quotes. If it is a string, you have to give in double quotes. Okay, so copy this, all of you. Already made a request. Copy this, paste here, paste inside of double quotes. Okay, so this is our URL. We are going to make a request. Okay, we are making a request to this URL and we are getting response and we are storing that in R. We are storing that in R, all of you. Okay, right? Is that clear, all of you? So press enter. All of you are following, right? Are you following? Okay, I see that every one of you are following.
Yes, but why are using this command line? Why not any IDE?
Yeah, we can use, but it is a better thing. Okay, because in Raspberry Pi, yes, you have many other things like you can use Tony Python, IDE, and other IDEs, but this is good when you practice. Okay, so beginner, my suggestion is go with IDEs. Okay, but when you are practicing more, it is always good to use this particular nano editor, because it will help you a lot in Raspberry Pi. Okay, if you want to write more code and execute continuously, because IDEs, sometimes you will get issues. Sometimes you will get issues with IDEs when you are working with this particular code, especially when you're interacting with GPIOs, or when you are interacting with some communication directly with SOC, then you will get issues. So better is using these editors is good. Okay, that is my suggestion. So that is my practice as well. Okay, because I face many issues when using these IDEs. Is that clear? So IDEs are good, when you're working with computer or laptop. Okay, but when you're working with this type of devices like Raspberry Pi, which is having low capacity, computing powers. In such case, it is better to go with low, applications like which takes low computing power. Okay, so that's a good thing, right?
Can we use Jupyter Notebook over here?
No, so you have same interactive notebook we have, that is Mu. Okay, so we cannot use Jupyter, but we have another one, Mu. You can use Mu. Okay, Mu is very similar, a Python editor for beginners. Okay, and it's very similar like your Jupyter Notebook, but my suggestion is don't use it. Okay, so better to use Mu, so it will be helpful for you, right?
Oh.
Right, so now we made a request and we got the response. Okay, so and we are storing that response in R. Okay, print that response, all of you. Just print a response. Just we'll try to print the response and see what is the response we are getting. Okay, so save this program, Control O, Control X, Okay, so now run this program, Python space smart u.py, run this program. When you run this program, you got the response 200, right? What is 200? Anyone? Can you tell me the answer? What is 200? Anyone? Can you guess?
It's seconds.
It's okay.
Right,
It's okay.
very good. It's okay, successful. Our request is successful. Okay, right. But where is the response? Okay, so now the response is with the response, object. So we have the response object. Okay, so this R is a response object. So from this, we have to get the data. Okay, to get this data, print R dot JSON. So JSON will convert directly. This method will convert directly the data into Python dictionary. So you will get data converted into Python dictionary. So we are converting JSON response. R is response object. This response object contains some methods. Okay, so to convert the response into text, or you can convert the response into a dictionary, we can do that. So I'll be using the method JSON. Okay, now run this. Save this program and run this, all of you. So when you run this, you will see here response. Okay, you got the response. Okay, because we are printing this as a dictionary, we have converted that into a dictionary. So this is a dictionary now. Okay, we cannot directly work with JSON. You have to convert that into Python data types. Okay, dictionary is a Python data type. So we have converted that into Python data type. So I'll be storing that in some variable. I'll be doing that now. So store this s equal to r.json, right? And now the next step. So S contains the response, all of you. Okay, S is actually a dictionary. Okay, dictionary. So this dictionary is having all the elements. Okay, what are the elements we have in the dictionary? Just print S and try to understand how to access elements in the dictionary. So dictionary is a Python object. Remember, all of you. So it's a one data type in Python. So all of you know, right? Some of you know about it. Okay, so this is a dictionary now. Okay, in this dictionary, we have keys and values. Okay, you can see the keys. So this is the first key. You can see clouds. Okay, you can see here name and then visibility. These are all keys. This is the key and this is a value. This is the key and the value. So on, we have keys and values. Generally, dictionaries contains key and value pairs, all of it, like this. Okay, so it will be enclosed in curly brackets. Okay, a key value pair looks like this. For example, X is the key and value 10, and separate this with comma. Y is the key and the value is 20, suppose. So in this dictionary, this is a dictionary. In this dictionary, we have two keys. X is the key and Y is the key, and the value of X is 10. The value of Y is 20. Okay, so but here you will see a big dictionary. Now we want to access the temperature value present in this particular dictionary. Okay, so you can do that. So you can access elements. You can access elements in the dictionary. How to access elements in the dictionary? I'll show you now. Okay, to access elements in the dictionary, take a simple example. So we have taken simple example X10, Y20, suppose. Okay, to access value of the X, okay, what you have to do is simple. Suppose S is this particular dictionary. Okay, now this S contains this entire dictionary. Now we want to access what is the value of the key X. Okay, so for that you have to provide S, and then in square brackets you have to provide the key. For example, X is a key. S of X will give you the value. So directly you can access the values by using keys, all of you. Okay, now where is our temperature? You can see here. So here you will see the temperature. So in main we have temperature. Main is the key, and we have the value. This is a value. This entire there is another dictionary inside of this. Okay, this is a dictionary only, right? So what we do is we try to access this main first. Okay, we'll try to access the value of the key main. So we'll try to write that in the program. Okay, all of you. So try to write this here. Print S of main. S of main. So this main is the key. For this key, we have temperature, humidity, all the values are there in that particular, value. So general that value is also a dictionary. We'll see that now. Run this now. Run this and see all of you. You will see here, another dictionary. You got another dictionary. This dictionary contains temperature, temperature max, humidity, pressure, temperature mean, feels like. Okay, so now you can access this 299. Again, this is a dictionary. So how to access 299? Anyone tell me how to access 299? How to get this 299.8? This is a dictionary, right? It's simple, right? Here you have to access the, this particular value. To access this particular value, you have to specify this key, right? Temp is a key, right? So S of main contains this particular dictionary. Within dictionary, so we want to access temperature. So specify here temp. Here temp. Okay, when you specify here temp, automatically we get this 299.8 being printed. Okay, so I'll be showing that now here. Right. So better, all of you see here. So now we want to print temp. Okay, now print this. So better, we'll be storing this in some variable t. Variable t equal to S of main and then temp. Okay, right. So now print here, print t, suppose print temperature. Okay, so you'll be getting temperature, and we want to convert that into degree centigrade. So directly Kelvin can be converted in degree centigrade by subtracting 273.5. Is that correct? Minus 273.5. Okay, right, maybe. Okay, it is correct. Okay, so I hope so. Right. So T equal S of main temp minus 273.5. So we have converted this Kelvin into degree centigrade by subtracting the entire value with 273.5. Okay, now we are getting that value into T. T contains now temperature in degree centigrade. We are printing that T here. So save this and run. Now you should get value, all of you. So now we should get 26.3. Okay, this is for which city, all of you? We are getting this data for Chennai, right? For Chennai. Right, so you can see here Chennai data. So this is Chennai data. So 26.7 to 28 degrees centigrade. So here 26.7 you will see here. These are general average temperatures in Chennai. So you'll be getting 26.3 here. Okay, so these are temperature you are getting from that particular, for Chennai city. Okay, so you can get this temperature directly. Okay, all of you. So this is how you can access temperature. Now we'll be continuously reading this data. So how to continuously read this data, and we want to get for different cities. Suppose in general, we design smart umbrella for our location only, right? Not for different locations, because you want to carry that. Suppose if you are living in Chennai, then you have to carry this. Maybe if you are living some other location, then you'll be carrying. So it's based on the location. Okay, so based on the location, it has to get the data. Okay, all of you. Right. So in such case, some people wants to add GPS, and they want to get the data as well. Right. We want to make these continuous requests. So for making continuous requests, we are going to create infinite loop. Create infinite loop now. Create infinite loop. Create infinite loop here. And print temperature. Okay. So now print temperature here. You will see here continuously 26.3 is being printed, because it will not change suddenly, right? So now suppose if you want to get temperature for different cities. Okay, for testing we have to provide different cities, right? So now we have to ask the user what is the city. Okay, so give here the user input. So we have to get the user inputs. How to get the user inputs? City. So directly you get the input from the user. So there is a function called as input. Enter the city name. Enter the city name. Okay, so now user can provide the city name. So now we'll be storing that into city. Okay, now that city we want to embed here. Here instead of Chennai, Chennai. So percentage S. So in this, I'm keeping here placeholder. In this placeholder, I want to keep the city. Okay, maybe the city contains maybe Chennai or Hyderabad. The same value I want to get here. So whatever maybe the value present in this variable city, I want to get here. Okay, so that's why I have kept here placeholder percentages. And finally, at this end, after these double quotes, keep here percentage city. Okay, now whatever maybe the value present in city will be replaced at that particular percentages. Okay, right. Now you can print this URL also. You can print this URL. So print URL. And we want to provide, okay, so right. So now we will run this, all of you. We'll run this. So Control O, enter, Control X. Run this now. Now it will be asking us some city, right? So for example, I'll be providing Chennai. Okay, so Chennai is not defined. Name error, we have to check this. 1 second. Okay, so this is Python 2. Okay, so right. So I'll be changing this code. So we have to write here raw underscore input. Okay, for string in Python. Okay, all of you. Python 2. In Python 3, you have to use directly the same thing. Input will work. Okay, URL is not defined. 1 second. So we have to store the URL. 1 second, all of you. Right. Right. So here, all of you, you can see that we entered Chennai and we got, this is the URL. This is the URL for which we are making a request. Okay. So when you give Chennai, automatically the Chennai is embedded here in this URL. Can you see that, all of you? Can observe this? So key is equal to Chennai and app ID is same. There is no change. And you can see here 26.3. Now you can give different cities here. You can provide different cities here. So you can provide here Hyderabad. Okay, you can see here 21.88 in Hyderabad. Okay, so you can provide your own city name and you can find temperatures. Now what we do is, now we are getting temperatures of different cities. Okay, why I'm getting temperatures of different cities? Why I'm taking? Practically it is not correct. Okay, so but I want to see some changes in temperatures because we want to change umbrella colors. And I want to show those colors to you practically. Okay, for showing those colors to you practically. Okay, so I'm keeping different cities so that I'll get different temperatures. Is that clear to you, all of you? Do you understand this? Okay, for generally use only for one particular location, right? Okay, but here I'm using for different locations so that you can interpret how it works based on changes in the temperature, right? So I hope you were able to understand Alex, Ankit, and Pawan, and Srinath, Alex. Okay, right, all of you?
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay, so now we'll start writing the program now. Okay, so we have to go to the program. Now we are getting data, perfect. Okay, now we have to control RGB LED colors. Okay, so we are using here common anode RGB LED. So what is RGB LED? What is RGB LED? So RGB LED is generally integrated with 3 LEDs. One is red LED, green LED, blue LED. Okay, so there are total 3 LEDs within one single LED. Those are red LED, green LED, blue LED. Okay, so you can turn on red only. You can turn on green only. If you turn on only red, you will get red color. If you turn on only green, you will get green color. If you turn on only blue, then you will get blue color. Okay, if you turn on red LED and green LED, then you'll be getting a color combination of red and green. What is the color combination of red and green, all of you? What is the color combination of red and green? Anyone can say answer? What is the color combination of red and green?
Yellow.
Nice, yellow color. So you'll be getting yellow color, right? So if you want to get white color, you'll be getting combination of red and green and blue. Okay, so I'll be showing you here LED. So this LED, common cathode LED, contains total 4 terminals. 4 terminals. So this is a red anode, green anode, blue anode, And the second one is longest terminal. Okay, this terminal is actually cathode terminal. Cathode terminal. This cathode terminal is common cathode, common to all three LEDs: red LED, green LED, blue LED. Internally, they are connected like this. Okay, so you'll be having LED one. This is LED one, and you have another LED. This is a blue LED. So there are total three LEDs: red, green, and blue. This is the anode positive. This is the anode of red. This is the anode of blue, and this is the anode of green. This is the anode of blue. Okay, and this is a cathode, and this is a cathode, and the cathode. Okay, generally to turn on this LED, red LED, you have to give 3.3 volts at anode. If you want to turn on green, you have to give 3.3 at anode of green. If you want to turn on blue, you have to give here 3.3. And all these cathodes, these are cathodes. So these cathodes we are connecting to ground. Okay, so this is called as common ground. So generally common cathode, because all these are cathodes and we are connecting all cathodes together. Okay, and all these cathodes will be connected to ground. So these particular cathodes together will become one terminal, that is second terminal. This is terminal of it. These three became one, that is common cathode. So this is the common cathode terminal. Okay, so now this common cathode terminal should be connected to ground. Okay, all of you. And this is the red terminal. This red terminal we have to connect to GPIO pin. Green we have to connect to GPIO. Blue we have to connect to GPIO. Okay, so now we are going to make connections, all of you. So I'll show you connections now. So I'll show you. So I'll be taking RGB LED. I'll show you. Now we are going to use 3 pins here. So I'll show you video now. So now you can see the video. Right, can you see this video, all of you? Are you able to see this RGB LED? So this is the RGB LED, all of you. This is RGB LED. So there are total 4 terminals. Okay, first one is red. Second one is common cathode, and then green and blue. Okay, so this is actually black color jumper wire is here. So can you see this, all of you? Black color jumper wire. So we are connecting this directly from common cathode, that is actually second terminal, that is second terminal, second one. Okay, from second one to we are connecting to ground, that is 39 done. Right, so now this is the red, all of you. This is red terminal. So we are using 3 resistors in series with each anode. Red anode we have connected a resistor, green we have connected a resistor, from blue we have connected a resistor. Okay, there are total 3 resistors. Okay, so I'll be connecting now red to 40. This is the 40th pin. I'll be connecting to 40th pin. And now we are taking green to 38, all of you. This is 38. So all of you can see here, this is a 38. Okay, now I'll be connecting to 36. Okay, there are total 3 LEDs. All 3 LEDs we are connecting to. Yeah, 1 second. Okay, so 1 second, all of you. So there are 3 things. One is, so we have connected to 3. Okay, one is 40, 38, 36. Okay, red, green, and blue. Okay, all these anodes are connected to 3 digital pins. Okay, so is that clear to you, all of you? Do you understand these connections? So instead of connecting one single LED, now we have total 3 LEDs present in this particular RGB LED: red, green, and blue. Okay, now we are going to control. So like one LED, you can control 3 LEDs as well here. Okay, so I'll be showing you how to control these 3 LEDs. Okay, all of you. So first we will try to understand that code and we'll come to this particular smart umbrella code. Okay, right. So I'll be showing that. Otherwise we can write directly. So there are total 3 pins we are using. So what is the library, all of you? We have to use GPIO library, right? So import rpi.gpio as GPIO. Okay, and then the next step, all of you, we have to set mode GPIO dot set mode. Mode is here, we are going to keep GPIO.board. The next step, all of you, so pins, take some list pins. So we are going to use 40, 38, 36. So this is a list of pins. We are going to make all these pins as output pins, GPIO dot setup, GPIO dot setup. So here we have to pass pins list, comma, GPIO dot out. So because we want to, make all these pins as out pins. Okay, so here this is a list of pins, all of you, 40, 38, 36. Okay, we have stored in a list, pins list, and all the pins we are making output pins, because we want to control RGB LED. So 40 pins should produce voltage, 38 pins should produce voltage, 36, from all these pins we want to write signal. Okay, right? So instead of writing 3 lines of code, we can write into a single line also, right? So after writing this, now simple statement, if t is greater than 20, suppose if t is greater than 20, then we want to produce red color. How to produce red color? So any simple, right? To produce red color, you have to give 3.3 volts at red, and other pins you have to give 0 volts, right? So very simple. So now we will write here GPIO dot output. So pin number here 40. We have connected red to pin number 40, comma GPIO dot high. Okay, and then GPIO dot output. So here we have to make low, all of you. You have to make low. So 38, comma GPIO dot low. Same way for others also. You have to make low. 36 also GPIO dot output. 36, comma GPIO dot low. Right, so done. Okay, if t is greater than 20, then you will be getting red color. Okay, else, okay, so else if t is not greater than 20, less than 20, then we want to get, for example, green color. Okay, so green color you have to turn on. Which pin, all of you? You have to make high. Anyone please tell me? Just say loudly. Yes. Anyone? Just you answer here. 38, right? 30 is actually connected to green, right? GPIO dot high. And then finally you have to give GPIO dot output 36, comma GPIO dot low. Right, all of you? If temperature is greater than 20, then we want to produce red color. Otherwise, we want to produce green color. Okay, it's simple. So your umbrella will be sensitive to weather. Here we are taking 20 as the standard. Okay, suppose. So now run this. Start running this. When you run this, okay, you have to give here city name. So I'll be giving city name Chennai. Okay, for Chennai, definitely we are getting red color. Okay, all of you can see this now. So now I'll be showing my video. Okay, so just 1 second. So now you should be able to see this, all of you. Yes, are you able to get this, all of you? Are you able to see this red color? Right, okay, right, fine. So now, for example, Delhi, give the city name, Delhi. If you give city name Delhi, what is the color you are seeing now? In my RGB LED, you are seeing green color, right, all of you? So this is how you can change the colors of the LED based on the temperature. Based on the temperature, even you can try for rain and other parameters also, right? So I hope this is clear to you, right, all of you? This is one project we were able to do. In the coming session, we'll do more projects. Okay, I'll teach you more projects in the coming session. So we'll continue with this session in the next time. Okay, maybe in the coming week. How many of you are interested if we continue this? Right. Thank you all. I hope all of you are able to understand basic things. We have seen very basic things here. Okay, so we can get more details in the coming session. Okay, anyone wants to ask doubts, you can ask me doubts, all of you. Alex, Srinath.
Can we get recording of this video?
Yeah, sure. I do provide. Yes.
Okay.
So thank you all.
Sorry,
I hope you enjoyed. Yes, please tell me.
Yeah, so the question is, you are using Raspberry Pi 3B breadboard and jumpers, all these combinations, right?
Yes.
What is your recommendation from where this can be bought?
So
online.
So you're from which country?
India, Bangalore.
Okay. So better you can buy from robo.in. Okay, so robo.in is providing at best price, I think. Okay, so Raspberry Pis are best at robo.in, and also there are other companies as well. So I'll provide you in the email links also. You can go through them. So those are providing best price at best quality. Okay, you can buy them. Okay, so and we do provide 90 plus hours of training sessions, for advanced training. If any one of you are interested, you can join to learn from basic in a slow mode with interaction. Okay, so live interactions, and so this is last for 3 months with industrial projects. Okay, so we will be covering all the clouds, AWS, IBM, ThinkSpoke, Azure. Okay, so we are starting a new batch from tomorrow. So if anyone interested, you can ask us. We'll share details. Okay, right.
Okay, but these kits can be bought from Amazon or Flipkart. I mean,
so don't go to Amazon. Don't go for Amazon. Okay, so they will charge more, and the quality may not be good. So better, there are sellers like robo.in, and there are RoboCraze. Okay, so there are some companies who are actually selling only electronics. Okay, so if you go to them, they will give you best quality products. Okay, when compared with these companies, because Amazon will be selling all types of devices, materials. So it is better to go with those who are specialized in these materials, because they have contacts, so they reduce the prices as well. So you'll be getting price match will be very better. Okay, when go for these companies. So better you buy from robo.in or RoboCraze. Okay, so this is my suggestion. Okay, it is good. And there are local sellers are also there. Okay, you can go and buy also if you want to do that offline, purchase in the local store.
Okay.
Right. I will share details. Okay, I will share details how to buy and all. Okay, so I'll share the links in the email. So please go through those links. Okay, and see the prices and cross check and buy them. Okay, so see, electronics getting quality is important, because they don't take return of those components from Amazon. Amazon won't take return. Okay, once you start working with them, if that is not working, then this might be the problem. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's the reason why I asked that question, because
so robo.in, no problem. So because I got once a problem, and they have returned it, and they exchanged. So that's a good thing. That's my experience. Okay, I buy from robo.in, and I have separate, because we buy bulk. Okay, so like 100 or 250. Okay, we too also help you. If you want, we also can send you, but better if you can get locally. Okay, in Bangalore. Right. So better go online. Okay. So in Bangalore, RoboCraze is there. So they are selling. Okay, you can directly get from them also. RoboCraze.
RoboCraze store.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they sell online. They have offline store also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Every Saturday we'll have a sessions on all this. So please do attend. I'll share the links to you. Okay. So if you are having time, interest, and you can join in that. Okay. So thank you. You can share the feedback in the email. Thank you so much, all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a good session.
Thank you.